Heyo, managers! We are back for another episode of the newly named Hail Mary Happy Hour. We are back and we are improving with some weekly segments this time that we'll be introducing as we go. You still got me, and we still got Tyler, who is now back in our time zone. How's the news?
Yes, another podcast episode, another hotel. I am now here in New York. New York City is a shithole. This place is vile. It's dirty. I kind of hate it here, but we're happy to be here. And yeah, we're actually going to be drinking alcohol this week on the podcast.
Yeah, you grabbed some beers just earlier today for this, since
Yes,
you don't have
today
much.
we are having the hazy little IPA in the Taco Bell cup like a classy American does. Josh, what do you got over there today?
Well, I've got a Down East cider. Not a beer. Probably should be drinking beer, but well, this is what we have, and it is also the sponsor of my Volo Volleyball League that I'm in Boston. So
You know,
I'm a
we don't
fan
discriminate.
now.
We don't discriminate against any types of alcohol here.
Thank you. Thank you. That's what we try to do. So week one is done.
Week
We got
one
through.
is in the books.
And let me tell you, like, sort of a shit show during a lot of it.
I feel like that's every week one, though. Every year, everybody has this image in their mind of how their fantasy team's going to do, how their favorite team's going to do, and then week one just rocks the boat.
Yeah, you're completely wrong. For instance, the Patriots win.
Let's go. Let's go, Patriots. I didn't get to watch the game, but incredible. I love it when the Patriots can make an objectively better team shit themselves.
It was absolutely wild to be watching. I didn't even watch the game straight. I had my Sunday ticket, 4 games going on, and I didn't even have the Patriots game because it's an in-market game. So I got to figure out how to actually have that game on, playing with an antenna, figuring out my neighbor might have it, so that's a win. But we ended up just having Red Zone on, and every now and then Patriots would come up on Red Zone, winning, and every time they show up, zero faith. Right up to the end, zero faith they would win.
Yeah, just
Gotta be
kind of
honest.
waiting for them to choke it away. I mean, that's got to
Yeah.
be the biggest upset this week, though, without a doubt, right?
Oh my God. If any of you are in a survival, like Pick'em League, I want to know if people chose the Bengals because it was such a safe pick that definitely got so many out.
It must have. I mean, hopefully people are a little Bengal wary after last year, kind of coming off of a rough season. But yeah, I'm sure that must have ruined some people's pick leagues right there.
It had to. But aside from the Patriots' great performance, we had some other, worse performances.
One of my
Actually,
personal favorite games this week, Josh, the Vikings smoking that Danny Dimes pack 28-6. I love
Yeah.
it. Sam Darnold, let's go.
That was rough. Danny Dimes, holy shit. I learned a stat this week. After that game, since getting his new big contract, Daniel Jones has thrown more touchdowns to opposing defenses than his own team. He has only thrown
Bro.
2 passing touchdowns and 3 pick sixes.
I would say that I think he's going to lose his starting job, but the Giants' backup quarterbacks are Drew Lock and Tommy DeVito, so not sure
Find
about
someone.
that.
I honestly still might be worth it. Just find anyone. Jameis Winston's got to be out there.
Yeah, he's got to
He
be
can huck
chilling
the ball to
somewhere.
neighbors. I know he can. But yeah, that was an interesting game.
Certainly
Then we
a
had-
wild week of football.
Yeah. Which has also come with immediately injuries, messing up teams. We had T. Higgins out for the Bengals, who was still played by our dear notorious scoundrels, who managed to come away with the win nonetheless.
Victor, you don't even check your lineup, so I doubt you're listening to this podcast. But if you are, set your lineup, bud. Come on.
That's your fucking lineup.
Everybody
Just-
who listens to this, fucking bash Victor for not setting
It's
his
the
lineup,
only
please.
thing. Victor had Baker Mayfield on the bench, a wide receiver in the super flex. Set your
Hot
lineup.
takes. Hot takes. Spicy takes.
Hot take. Now, some players that played and did get injured. We have the Jordan Love injury. Thankfully, only out for a few weeks, but that is still a few weeks.
Yeah, when it
That
first happened, weren't they saying it could be season ending?
well, yeah, they showed the playback. It looked like it could be an ACL, it could be like a tear, but he managed to get away with an MCL sprain. It's gonna heal up. So yeah, I believe he's on She Love My McConkey. He's the keeper for that team, so that's a big win for them.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Puka, the second round pick of the Aaron Rodgers Hate Club, is going to be a candidate for IR. So that's going to be a rough one. Not season, but losing a player like that for any extended period of time is going to be pretty rough.
No, absolutely. Especially when it's your second round pick. The good news is I think he's only slated to miss about 4 to 6 games right now.
Yeah, it always just be happy it's not longer.
But those injuries are scary because sometimes even when they come back, I mean, it really can harbor a player's productivity, and especially when you're already competing for targets with a guy like Cooper Kupp, every little disadvantage is going to matter.
Who got something like how many targets did he get? 21, 20
I don't know, but he had
targets?
14 receptions.
Yeah, insane. He's 31. He's got to slow down.
No, he's so good.
No, he just might not. And again, another pick by She Love My McConkey. But yeah, that being said, Cooper Kupp had a great week. A lot of people didn't. Generally, passing game was down. The average passing yards for a quarterback, I believe, was 200 yards this week. So, yeah, fun football. Yeah, it was a rough one.
And I mean, not a lot of passing yards, not a lot of receiving yards to go around. And there was one position this week that certainly felt the sting more than the others.
Yeah, if you are looking at your team, pissed that you chose the wrong tight end, I have such good news for you. You didn't. You just chose a tight end.
Yeah.
Because there are only 2 tight ends that were started this week that scored double-digit points. And that is the rookie Brock Bowers and Kyle Pitts, who only did it because he scored a touchdown wide open.
Who scored more? Do you know, Bowers or Pitts?
Off the top of my head, I believe it was actually Bowers.
No kidding.
Who scored off of points and yards. I believe Pitts got 10, maybe I think it was both 10.
Bowers got 10.3, and Pitts got
maybe 10.4.
10.1.
10.1, yeah.
So
the double digits.
I was going to say, you're telling me only 2 tight ends starting scored double-digit points, and they both scored less than 10.5.
Yeah. 2 Saints tight ends scored more. Foster Moreau got a touchdown, got some points. Some other one got points.
Who?
So, I don't know. It wasn't Taysom Hill.
I was going to ask.
Taysom Hill.
Oh,
insane week for the tight ends. But
not in a good way.
Yeah, not in a great way. And now I'm personally left with Mark Andrews wondering, okay, I have likely on my bench. Does that mean what do I do?
I don't know. I warned
know.
you. I warned you last week that I thought likely was going to eat into Andrews' target count. He absolutely is. But here's the thing: is Andrews is still the number 1 tight end. So it's how are you going to go to likely over him? It's going to be a toss up every week. Which one of them is more involved in the offense? Honestly,
I don't know. Andrews flipped his car a few weeks ago. I imagine there's some looming things. If you didn't know, yeah, Andrews got into a car accident.
Did not know this.
Was not put on the injury report at all. They were just like, oh, he's fine. But
Didn't Tyreek Hill also get arrested this week?
Tyreek Hill got detained in a traffic violation before the game, which I shit my pants. I don't know. I assume you didn't because you don't have him. But
no.
Yeah, he played anyway. Scored a touchdown. Did a touchdown dance like he was getting cuffed. Because, by the way, he was like they released the body cam footage of it. He was dragged out of his car, like very not great police work.
I bet that
So
when it happened to Cooper Cup.
super cool. Yeah. But yeah.
That reminds me of, do you remember the golfer, Scotty Scheffler, who, like, same thing, got like a DUI the day before some major
Yeah.
golf tournament and then showed up and still, like, absolutely crushed?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I get, if it happens every week, I'd be happy for Tyreek to put up these stats every week,
No
So,
kidding, right? If he puts up the
yeah.
numbers, I don't care what he does in his personal life. Well,
Wow. Yeah.
well, I immediately thought of Deshaun Watson. I'm not gonna lie. That
Oh
was the
yeah, that's
first
that. There's
person,
that guy.
first person I thought of. I went,
Yeah, he just sucks all around. But uh, but yeah, another very interesting week of football. And on top of that, you'll see this video showing up on the channel. But we have another video that's up finally. We have Gabe's lovely dance to
yes.
Peaches remix.
I
And
finally got a chance to see it, and it was even better than I could have imagined. He really set a standard for all future performances, I think. Like you said, I think this performance was a big make or break for how serious people are going to take this league. And he brought his A game in that dance. So massive, massive shout out to Gabe.
truly, like, yeah, he's the heart and soul right now. For this league to be taken seriously, he had to take himself as a fool. And he did. And we commend you for that. So, that covers our news and notes of the week. Now moving into our first of our weekly segments that we're going to be going through. Please let us know if you have other segments that you want us to do, your thoughts on the segments that we are doing, because, always improving. We want this to be entertaining. We want you guys to want to listen to this, and we want to have fun doing it, which we currently are. But the first segment we have is Josh's fucking shit fuck bed shitter of the week. Now, this lovely honor goes to the player that I deemed as the reason that someone lost, especially a match that they probably should have won. Now, this honor goes to none other than Mr. Joe Burrow, who not only cost She Love My McConkey the match through both his points and also him throwing to Jamar Chase, who was the stack that was taken in the first and second round by this team. He also lost to the Patriots, which is in its own, like, hey, thanks, man, but that's rough.
As Zuko would say, that's tough, buddy.
That is tough, buddy. Between Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, they underperformed by, I think, 20 points, which would have been plenty for She Loved My McConkey to take over and beat the SCLSU Mud Dogs. Now, Tyler, do you expect a bounce back from these guys?
I
What are
do.
your thoughts on Burrow?
I do. I mean, obviously, it's been a tough. Last year was a tough year for Bengals fans and for Joe Burrow. Not a great start to this year. I do expect a bounce back. The question for me right now is how much of a bounce back am I looking at? I I don't know is the honest answer. I mean, they have all the talent in the world. Burrow really can't use the injury excuse anymore. I mean, he's been, cleared for a while now. So really right now, the question for me, like I said, is what are they going to do going forward? I mean, the Patriots have a really good defense, granted. They also got a ton of offensive possessions in that game that they could not do anything with. So while I expect Burrow to bounce back, I don't think you're looking at a quarterback who's finishing in top 5 fantasy points this year. And I honestly think that between Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, I don't know if either. I think Jamar's going to have a tough time breaking top 10 wide R this year. I really do.
See, that's kind of where I'm falling too, because Joe Burrow, I know he's a good quarterback. He's got to be, and he has been. But man, I feel like every year he comes in, he has some injury or something going on, and I think this year he had some wrist injury, coming into the season, and every year it's like he's slow or bad because of it. He'll eventually ramp up. He'll eventually be good, but man, it's just you look at him as this consistent guy, and he just hasn't been that. And Jamar Chase just relies on him.
I think part of the problem too is I do think that there was like a hot minute where I forget if it was at the end of his rookie year or what, where he was like kind of super overhyped. Like, don't get me wrong, Joe Burrow, very good quarterback, but there was like a point where people were like comparing him to being better than Josh Allen and like almost as good as Patrick Mahomes. And it's pretty apparent to me now that, yeah, Joe Burrow is a game general, absolutely. I don't know if he just has the raw athleticism and talent of these other guys, though, quite frankly. And he also has arguably way better receiving core than any of those guys have had.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, take that with a grain of salt, but face value, I mean, like I said, Burrow, yeah, if we're talking about objective talent, probably still a top 5 quarterback in this league. Fantasy-wise, I don't know if he's there.
Yeah, I would put him pretty much around like Justin Herbert. Like, I know he's good at quarterback, but for some reason he's just not doing it.
That is honestly so true about Justin Herbert. That man's stats for the first 4 or 5 years of his career were insane, and he's just had no success to show for it.
Yeah. So, there you have it. This week's fucking shitfuck bed shitter of the week. And conversely to that, we have my Mr. Big Guy of the week. This is the guy that was the Mr. Big Guy and brought back a match, ended up overperforming and winning it for his team. Now, I don't think it can be argued with when I choose my own guy in this, because you probably have seen it by now, but an hour before Monday Night Football, which we are recording this on Monday night directly after the game, so I'm still feeling the high from this.
It is midnight.
Yeah, it's midnight. We care about you guys. I decided to start Jordan Mason once I saw Christian McCaffrey was out, rather than Ayuk. Ayuk, I heard he might be on a snap count because he wasn't practicing. He was waiting for his contract. And, I mean, them 49ers, they run the ball. Now, little did I know, I needed 18 points. Jordan Mason came through and decided to put up 25 points, over 150 yards from scrimmage, a touchdown.
Yeah.
This man delivered.
Honestly, I looked at your matchup earlier before the game, and I was like, oh, man. In my head, I was like, Ayuk's not clocking 18 tonight. I was like, Josh is going to probably take the L. I was like, there's a chance Ayuk does it, but I don't like the possibility. You made arguably the best management call of the entire week by getting Mason in there last second.
Yep, that's what it's all about. Which, by the way, so sorry to is it Granny's that has Christian McCaffrey? Because
he was going to lose to me anyway.
Oh, lovely. Then it's fine. But I don't know about you. I can't think of a worse announcement that I've seen. Like, such a big player on Monday Night Football not even being doubtful, just questionable, and then suddenly not playing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe it didn't affect your match that much, but around this country.
Oh, that must have rocked people. That must have rocked, and especially because at this point, Jordan Mason's most likely already on a team. So you don't have anybody else to get in there. Nobody who's going to put up remotely Christian McCaffrey numbers, at least, or even half of them, honestly.
Yeah, you have to hope you can go grab like Jawan Jennings. And if you don't have an IR, then you're not going to drop Christian McCaffrey. So you're just stuck with Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, tough week for the Christian McCaffrey owners, but good news is he's gonna bounce back pretty quickly from what it sounds like.
Yeah, he'll be fine. I mean, if it was this late of a decision, I have to imagine that he'll be back next week.
Yeah.
If he's not, then now you're looking at some issues, but I think it should be fine. But that does it for this week's fucking shit fuck bed shitter of the week and Mr. Big Guy of the week. Now, on to the power rankings. Now that we've discussed, a few of these matches. Now, the power rankings, we've put a little more thought into them this time. They're evolving as the week goes on. And so they're 100% correct. So you should feel bad if you're last, and that's how it be.
Definitively. Josh and I's opinions are better than all of yours because we're clearly the smartest two fantasy football managers, and Josh has a formula now, so you can't argue with that.
I have a formula, and it has numbers, and those are what points are too, so.
All right, power rankings, let's get into it.
All right, so the power rankings for this week. Listen, are we going top to bottom, bottom to top?
Oh, we gotta
want to go.
I love going bottom to top personally.
We're sticking with some bottom to top. All right. Well, there's not that much suspense. He's back. He scored the only one that scored less than 100 points. One of his players is out. It's your boy, Big Steve. Big Steve's Big Ballers. Didn't do that.
Yeah, Steve's Ballers did not ball out even a little bit this week. I mean, I don't know who you want to talk about first. The fact that Marvin Harrison had a single 4-yard catch. Drake London has continued to be his utterly disappointing self. Or the fact that the top 5 Cole in the league also finished with less than 1 point.
Yes. I will say, it's impossible to not put this team in last because they did really bad week 1, and you have to take points into account. What this team does have going for them is 2 things. 1, the only team with 100% nickname rate, and that's good for something. Like, kudos.
I that.
That's massive. 2, this might be the best scoring bench in the league this week. When you have Jaden Reed, Ramondre Stevenson down there, even Zach Charbonnet had his time.
Yeah.
So, there's hope ahead. When you have a manager that believes in his team like this, to give them all nicknames, to be posting, I believe he posted an inspirational quote from Jonah Hill, very inspirational man. I think they can pull it together.
I don't know. I feel like not too much needs to get said when you have 2 starting players who, not due to injury, scored less than 1 point.
I think that Marvin Harrison will be better, but he has to prove it before that does anything in the rankings. So
I don't know, man. I mean, I don't know how many. I think he had 3 targets all game in a game that was like a fairly high-scoring game against Buffalo. Dude got 3 targets.
Yes. I watched that game, and he should have had more. I think it's just working into the offense.
I mean, there is always a little bit of that with the rookies,
The rookies, always have to assume the rookies are going to come off to a slow start. That being said, Marvin Harrison was drafted like 9th overall wide receiver. And that's like his ceiling, and I don't see why that should have happened. But, you're in last place. Who am I to judge? The correct person to judge. That's the answer. But on to number 9. Tyler, would you like to announce this one?
Number 9, yes. All right. Number 9. Sorry to do it to you, bud, but we got Aaron Rodgers hate club down here. And, I feel like this one doesn't need too much explanation either. I don't know if anyone would disagree, but only scored 115, which I think was not second lowest, but the team that he outscored also had an injury last minute, Christian McCaffrey, which would have most likely put them over that 115 number. Um, yeah, a lot of players just did not perform to the top of their ability, in addition to Puka Nakua now being out for several weeks. So this team's bench really didn't do too well either. So they don't even have a lot of great guys to sub in, with the exception of Jamison Williams. But yeah, overall, our reigning champion not off to a hot start.
Yeah, and the Jamison Williams potential breakout game is great, except for the fact that it came at the expense of his first round pick of Amon Ra, who I thought was going to be the most consistent of that first round. After CD and Tyreek, Amon Ra was like maybe not the big bang guy, but he was going to hit his marks.
Amon Ra is going to bounce back. I will say that is probably the brightest spot, or the best news, whatever you want to say, that I can give this team, is that Amon Ra is going to bounce back. I have no doubt about that. And a little bit of other good news: Khalil Shakir getting involved in the Bills' offense. Obviously, without that touchdown, wouldn't have had as good of a performance, but still getting involved early in the season bodes well for him late season.
I do love watching Khalil Shakir. I was watching that game, and he turns nothing into something. That touchdown that he got was the reach he got somehow through people. He extended that by a good 2 yards just through a crowd of people. Like, truly so fun to watch. However, the downside of this team is that, again, Puka Nakua is hitting the IR, and that is going to be a pretty big hurt for this team. Hopefully, maybe Jamison Williams can slot in, give a little points in the meantime, but it is going to hurt.
We're going to have to see. We're going to have to see.
Yeah. So, on to number 8. Now, coming in at number 8, this is a team that may, in my mind right now, be the most volatile. Which is
I agree.
why
I was going to say, I think people might call this one a hot take on our part.
Yeah, but we have our reasoning. I don't even know if I like this, but I feel like this is where we have to put them. And that is the Charmin Ultra Softies. And what they have going for them is two of the most exciting quarterbacks, probably the two most exciting quarterbacks to have on a fantasy football team right now.
Yeah.
In Josh Allen and Anthony Richardson. But, it's been one game, and the rest of their team isn't necessarily the most exciting. Breece Hall and Kyren Williams both underperformed. Deebo Samuel did pretty good. Zay Flowers still underperformed. It seemed like not a huge passing game for the Ravens. And, the same with Christian Kirk, Josh Palmer. Those guys, Josh Palmer didn't hit.
No. I mean, my biggest problem with this...
He did get in a fight.
Well, he hit, but just maybe not in the right ways.
Yeah, he hit overall, and got ejected.
My biggest problem with this team is that this week, half of your points came from two players, being Josh Allen and Anthony Richardson. I don't care how good your quarterbacks are. Every quarterback is going to have down weeks. Even if each of them only has 3 bad weeks the whole year, if none of those weeks align, that's 6 games. If you don't have those two guys performing at full capacity, your team is going to struggle. Your flex players being Christian Kirk and Josh Palmer makes me want to throw up in my mouth. Your bench is disgusting. And not in a good way, in a bad way. There is nothing positive about your bench unless Rico Dowdle somehow takes over as the number 1 back in Dallas. There's really just no upside on this bench. I don't know. That is my biggest thing. I mean, and if God forbid Josh Allen or Anthony Richardson gets injured, your season's done.
Yeah. Watching those games are going to be so fun to watch. These two players are so fun to watch. And the scariest people to watch. They run hard. And they will throw their bodies at it.
They're crazy, bro.
Every single time. That is going to be terrifying. But then they're just going to do it. And it's going to work. I don't know if you saw one of Anthony Richardson's 9 completions.
He had 9 completions?
Anthony Richardson looked both insane and terrible. This man slipped and then off his back foot threw a 70-yard bomb, which had 66 yards of air, in a perfect touchdown pass to Alec Pierce. Might go down as the best pass of the season already. Like, it may just stay the best pass of the season. But that's one of the 9 he got.
I mean, look, if you could complete 9 passes and still throw 200 yards, that's kind of incredible in itself, to be honest.
Yeah. So, again, it's a volatile team. It's week 1, and so that's scary to us. So it's hard to really rank it higher.
Yeah.
But, you got this.
All right. So coming up next, our number, let me do some math here, 10, 9, 8, 7. Team number 7. We got GGG, Granny's Gold Galleon. And Josh,
All right.
how do you feel about this team? Because this is a team that, according to your formula, has a lot of upside.
Granny's Gold Galleon, we noted this during the draft. Gabe drafted some rookies. Gabe really went on the rookies, and that's kind of showing early on where they are underperforming, as you might expect. Now, there's a couple reasons this could be happening. For one, we have the likes of Malik Neighbors and Rome Odunze. Caleb Williams didn't play too good. He played pretty bad.
Yeah.
Didn't look like he did in the preseason, as tends to happen.
Not like bad enough to fully hit the panic button, but like a little concerning though.
He looked like a rookie quarterback, and we kind of wanted him to look like Patrick Mahomes. He didn't. So Rome Odunze is dealing with that. Malik Neighbors is dealing with
possibly the worst quarterback room in the entire league.
I'm trying to think, is there a worse quarterback than Daniel Jones or Bryce Young?
Bryce Young, I feel like some people might argue. But here's the thing about, because I was going to say, a lot of people have been not big on the Denver QB room with Bo Nix, but Bo Nix is a rookie. Bryce Young is in his second year and could still get better. This is year 6 for Daniel Jones.
Yeah. Yeah, he is, and like I said before,
this is it.
More touchdowns to defenses than to his own team. So he's dealing with that. So I still think there's room to improve. I mean, obviously there's room to improve. Rookies will get better as the season goes on. That's just how it's going to go. And that's why, again, Granny's Gold Galleon has that chance to improve.
Has some upside.
Christian McCaffrey's going to come back in. And overall, it's a young team that can improve, except for, you also have Aaron Rodgers, who's old and didn't do awesome today. But, what are you going to do? I don't love the bench.
No, there's not too much to like on this bench, honestly. Also, Gabe, why do you have Michael Penix? Drop Michael Penix. What is Michael Penix doing on your team?
After watching Christian Kirk, I don't know, man. It was pretty bad.
Maybe, I don't know.
Hey, maybe that was the play. He went for the keeper, didn't trust Kirk.
If that ends up working out, that's going to be one of the most legendary keeper picks of all time.
That will be insane, and that'll be kudos to you. So basically, yes, Charmin Ultra Softies and Granny's Gold Galleon are the two most volatile teams. One because of the quarterbacks, and one because of all the rookies in the non-quarterback areas. So they're just going to be sitting down there until we can figure out what they are. So, coming up next, in 6th, we have the Notorious Scoundrels. Now, the Notorious Scoundrels did, they won.
They did.
They beat Big Steve's Big Ballers, and they could have beat them by a lot more if, they took T. Higgins out, put Baker Mayfield in, who scored 43 points. They would have had over 160 points. Yeah. So that's something to be said about this team. But, the manager matters. Set your fucking lineup.
Everybody, again, if you didn't already, shit on Victor. Dude, set your lineup, bro.
Set your lineup. That's all you need to do. And you know what? When you set your lineup, it's going to be a lot better of a team.
This team has a lot of talent. That is I think a big upside for this team right now.
Yeah. It's, again, top 2 wide receivers have a tough quarterback situation. Olave didn't get a lot of looks from Derek Carr. Devontae Adams is dealing with Gardner Minshew, who wasn't looking like the guy that fed Pittman last year. He gave Brock Bowers some looks. Devontae didn't get quite the looks that you would hope for. But at least Pollard came off with a pretty good day. But it really comes down to, this team, it could be good. The quarterbacks have to come through. Laporta has to come back through just like every other tight end. But
no kidding.
If you're not paying attention, then you're not going to win.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like this is the definition of a very, I don't want to say mid team, but like kind of a mid team. There's some really good players. Chris Olave and Laporta should perform better throughout the season. I honestly think Devontae Adams and DJ Moore performed just about how they're going to perform for the majority of this season. Tony Pollard and Chris Pollard, I think, both outperformed how they're going to perform for the majority of this season. But there are some good players on the bench. I mean, Baker Mayfield having a career resurgence with the Buccaneers. Zach Moss, possibly the best Bengals player to have in fantasy right now. So there's some upside to this team, but just not enough to keep them in that top 5.
Ooh, that's a hot take. But I'm not. But you might be right now. I mean, he is the highest scoring one.
Okay, yeah, I didn't mean that for the whole year. Zach Moss is the best Bengals player. I just meant as of right now, Zach Moss is the only guy who's like remotely.
He's the highest scoring one. So
he scored 15 points. That might be more than Joe Burrow scored.
It is. No, it is.
So there you have it. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. But Josh, you want to kick off our top 5 here?
Joe Burrow scored 11 points. Our top 5. First off, is the man that almost beat me, Bongside Kicks.
And I want to give a shout out to Matt Simmons real quick, just saying that I think he is the single most slept on fantasy manager in any fantasy league I've ever played in. Everybody doubts him, and every year he consistently has a decent team.
He pulls it back.
He does.
Honestly, the top 5 is a shift. I really like Bongside Kicks. Like, I look at their team, and they could even be higher. Even though Brock Bowers scored well this week, I don't love their tight end room. Njoku's also hurt. Lockett's going to be hit or miss. Caleb Williams as the super flex
he's going to get better. At least from a fantasy perspective, he's going to get better.
Yeah. It's another thing like that's holding him back right now. You have Brian Thomas who can get better and J.K. Dobbins who did well. Can J.K. Dobbins stay healthy? That we don't know. But overall, it's a really solid team. You need Mahomes to, put up the numbers more than, put up number 1 overall numbers, hopefully. Yeah. And hopefully Saquon can keep doing this. I don't think he's going to be getting 3 touchdowns every week. So,
fair enough.
That's just not going to happen.
But, I mean, even without all those touchdowns, he still had a good performance. I mean, over 100 rushing yards, couple receptions. Even if he had one of those touchdowns, it still would have been a solid week for Saquon.
Oh, Saquon is going to be a great running back. He has found his spot on the Eagles, and the Giants are going to hate facing them twice a year. The
Giants are going to hate playing football on Sunday for the rest of the year.
Yeah, pretty much. But
I was like, can we talk about how Bongside Kicks has an empty spot on the bench right now and 3 tight ends?
Yeah.
For me, that's why you're number 5 and not any higher.
Yeah, you could add a lot of people with that. I added Jordan Mason this week. And won, beating you.
How much fab did you use on Jordan Mason?
I don't think any.
That's incredible.
Maybe $1.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
For you.
Oh, no, I agree. Nothing. Just grabbed him. Was honestly shocked that Gabe didn't grab him as the handcuff for Christian McCaffrey. But that's what it's all about. You can't have these empty slots. If you have someone out, get them on IR.
Bro,
Pick up a player.
the more and more years I play fantasy football too, the more and more I really do believe that the draft like matters, but the season is won and lost in free agency.
You got to hit those waiver
I feel like
wires.
that's just like a known thing these days.
Yep. All right, Tyler, kick us off with number 4.
All right, number 4, you slid down a few spots. You had a bad week. You're dealing with injuries, but we still see the potential for a really good season from you, and that is going to be She Loves My McConkey. Obviously, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, massively underperformed. I give you a ton of credit, though, for having Cooper Kupp, who I think could end up being one of those league winner type guys. Travis Kelce underperformed. He's going to get better. I don't love DK Metcalf and DeAndre Swift, but the reason that this team still stays so high, at least for me, is this bench. I mean, you got McConkey himself, who is looking like he's going to be one of the main receivers in that Chargers offense. Ezekiel Elliott showed that he is, as of now at least, the number one running back in Dallas. And you got good quarterbacks to come in and replace Jordan Love, too. Geno Smith, Derek Carr, both had really solid
Mm-hmm.
opening games. So you had a tough first week for sure. But, I mean, even with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase shitting the bed, still scored 130 points this week, you know? And, I mean, there's something to be said about that.
Yeah, it's a scary team. And I feel like the people that did poorly for She Loved My McConkey are the people that you know are going to come back. Burrow,
100%.
Chase, Kelsey, DK Metcalf too. That's not how he's going to be performing all year. He was being covered by I forget. The Denvers have a shutdown cornerback that was
Is that
just following him all
Patrick
week.
Surtain?
Surtain. Surtain was shadowing DK Metcalf the entire game. Like,
I'm not
these are
even
players that
huge.
are going to come back.
I'm not even huge on DK Metcalf personally, and even I'm going to say that he's not going to be a 6 point a week guy. Like, obviously, he's going to get better. So, yeah, you had a bad week. We had to drop you down a few spots, but we do expect to see you bounce back pretty hard.
Yeah, I mean, Jordan Love is going to be out a few weeks. That's going to be an issue, but you have quarterbacks, just take care of it. But yeah, we'll see. Maybe Joe's washed.
Maybe, dude.
Could be
Maybe
washed.
Joe Cool and Associates, bro.
Yeah. Now, coming into our top 3. Up first, we have the SCLSU Mud Dogs.
Josh, you know this is a team that I was big on when we were doing our initial power rankings. I had them a little bit higher. We ended up dropping them a few spots down to kind of meet in the middle on our opinions. So I'm happy to see them do really good this week. And I mean, I think that they really just showed what this team has in store for the whole year. I mean, specifically if Jaden Daniels can keep this up, this is going to
Yeah.
be a championship caliber team.
No, Jaden Daniels absolutely showed out. Bijan got good usage, didn't necessarily live up to the projections, but I don't think that's going to be an issue against the stout Steelers defense. James
Yeah.
Conner did well. Justin Jefferson, Sam Darnold can throw the ball, I guess.
Turns out
Who
Sam
knew?
Darnold kind of can play football decently.
Yep. I'd be a little worried about Pittman. Anthony Richardson kind of just slinging balls down. I'm not sure if Pittman will be grabbing those points, but I mean,
Jerome
he's
Ford
still going to be.
also. Jerome Ford not going to be a consistent start in that flex spot either.
Yeah,
But
we'll
that
see.
said, the bench talent is there. Keon
talent.
Coleman, big fan of him. Cortland Sutton. Yeah, did he only have 4 catches? Sure. He had 12 targets, though. The dude is clearly Bo
Yeah.
Nix's favorite guy on that team right now. So,
Yep. Terry McLaurin almost connected with Jaden Daniels on a long touchdown, would have changed the game entirely for him. And Javonte Williams, I wish was better. And that's all on that one.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. But overall, still, you put up big points. You go up on the power rankings.
I got faith in you.
I may have
I got
doubted.
faith in you,
Yep.
Mud Dogs.
Uh,
Wow,
but-
shocking. 2 teams not yet
Whoa.
mentioned. Wonder
Oh.
who the managers of these 2 spectacular teams could possibly be. And again, I'm sure some of you are sitting at home going, "Oh, of course they put these 2 teams in the number 1 spot." But come on.
That's what you sound like.
Look
the
at the
way.
rosters. I know. Thanks. But seriously,
Not
look at the
you,
rosters.
them.
Look. Oh, Oh, okay.
Not you. I'm
I
not
thought you
talking
were
to you.
talking
I'm talking
about
to them.
me. I was like,
Look at
damn.
them. You sound like
But
that.
for real though, I mean, look at the total scores this week. Look at the rosters. If you want to argue it, go ahead. But Josh, who? I mean, you know what? Actually, yeah. Why don't we do it this way? Talk about this team in the number 2 spot here.
All right. Well, this team in the number 2 spot, the Drunken Dragons. Now, the only hesitancy we had about the Drunken Dragons, they had some old guys. They might be washed. Aaron Jones, Stephon Diggs. Here's the thing. They're not. Stephon Diggs showed out. He came in. He got 2 touchdowns. If he's getting those looks in the end zone from an offense as powerful as Houston, that's going to be a useful player. Aaron Jones, 14 carries for 94 yards and a touchdown. The guy can run better than he was at Green Bay. Now they have Justin Jefferson spreading the field. No one's paying attention to him. Now, of course, he has CeeDee Lamb, A.J. Brown, best wide receiver room in the league. They're going to be doing great things. Pickens is going to be boom bust, but we'll see how it goes. And then you have a bench. They didn't put up huge points, but they're down the stretch. They're going to be reliable types that we went over in the last episode. I'm not always a fan of those reliable. I want the boom busts, but I mean you can't argue with they're good to have, especially when you have players that are already putting up good points. Now Kincaid, surprised to see that he wasn't like the obvious one receiver in the Bills offense, but there's room to grow there, and we'll see what happens.
Thank you for that breakdown, Josh. Just throwing my quick 2 cents. I love everything you said. I think there's still room to grow. I think Kincaid and Herbert specifically are going to be 2 players that get better as the season goes on. I don't disagree that this team does not have a bench that really grabs your attention or makes you go like, "Oh, wow, there's a lot of potential here." But like you said, when you have a great starting lineup, you just need guys to fill in bye weeks who can score you a solid amount of points. So, excellent analysis of that team, Josh.
Thank you. Thank you. Excellent team, Tyler.
All right, and then this team that we got in the number 1 spot here, we got your good
Ooh.
old basement Gremlins,
Oh, is
possibly
that the
actually
highest scoring team I see?
the highest scoring team with easily
Oh,
the best logo in the entire league. Um,
homemade.
Again, I don't think too much needs to be said about this team. Nico Collins proved he is the number 1 wide receiver over Stephon Diggs. Devon Achane absolutely locked up the fact that he is the number 1 running back, improved his relevancy in the pass game. Tyreek Hill is doing Tyreek Hill things. Look at the bench on this team. Raheem Mostert, not great, but the second Achane goes down, boom, there's the handcuff right there. Brian Robinson with a shockingly good week. Rashee Rice, possibly the player who surprised me the most this week. I watched that game on Thursday night, and Rashee Rice is obviously Patrick Mahomes' favorite target now, possibly even over Travis Kelce. So depending on how things go, and then obviously we already talked about Isaiah Likely. I don't know if that performance is going to happen every week, but just the fact that Isaiah Likely is there with Mark Andrews on the same roster, incredible things overall. And even the other players on this bench, Brandon Ayuk, Romeo Dobbs, I expect to see better things. This is probably the best bench in the entire league, and also one of the best starting lineups. Highest scoring team this week. Pretty obvious to me that right now this team's got to be ranked number 1.
Yeah, and I have it all to thank to Jordan Mason. Truly a king of my heart tonight for more reasons than just fantasy football. And we'll be getting into that in our next segment. Because
Yes.
I'll be shifting the let's say the main moderator duty over to Tyler for what will be Tyler's weekly segment.
All right, everybody. Welcome to our weekly segment with your favorite degenerate sports gambler. That is me. In this segment, basically, I'm going to be talking about my bets that hit this last week, give you an idea at what I'm looking at for this next week. If you lose money doing what I do, don't blame me. All right, that's my disclaimer right now. But I'm not going to lie. I had a really good week this first week. I hit a couple of different bets. My biggest one being six-leg parlay. So this week I hit a plus 272 parlay on the Packers-Eagles game. The six legs that hit were Hurts recording 200 yards and a passing touchdown, Barkley with 50 rushing yards, Josh Jacob with 40 rushing yards, A.J. Brown with 60 receiving, and Love with 225. So really happy with how that all turned out this week. And Josh, I understand that you hit a pretty solid bet yourself.
Well, yeah, you see, this right before the game when I discovered Christian McCaffrey was out, I had Jordan Mason, was really deciding whether it was worth it to put him in instead of Ayuk. Started doing my research. Saw the Jets' run defense isn't actually that good. Decided to go on FanDuel. I was like, okay, well, what's his rushing line? Maybe I can garner, because Sleeper didn't update how many points they thought he was going to get, so I had to kind of piece it together. And I found that we had plus 100 on Jordan Mason just to run 15 yards in the first quarter. Now, I don't usually, I bet, but I don't bet well. But I went for that one, and oh boy, he got 16 yards in the first quarter. And yeah, won a quick 20 off of that. Hoping that those winnings can go to further winnings, hopefully maybe with Tyler's tutelage. But we'll see. We'll see. Watch each week to see my me grow as a gambler.
Yes. All right. So looking ahead to the games we got this week, unfortunately, they don't release player prop bets until closer to the games, so I can't give you guys any of my full parlays, but reach out to me, text me. I love to talk about this stuff. I'd be happy to share what I got as those games get closer. But just to give you an idea at the lines I'm looking at this upcoming week, I got one in particular that is going to be my lock of the week, and that is Washington minus 135 at home against the Giants. Now, the Giants are an absolute mess of a franchise right now. Washington, on the other hand, looking on the up and up. Jaden Daniels had a really, really solid first week. Division rivalry game at home for Washington. Minus 135. I would like a better line. I would have liked to get it at maybe minus 120 or a little bit better. But even at minus 135, I'm probably going to slam home like $100 on this game, to be completely honest with you. I put 100 on the Chiefs this week and I won. So feeling good about that. Feeling good about these games. So that's going to be my lock of the week. And honestly, when that game comes up, I'm probably going to parlay that with some player props as well. Just some real easy hit lines, Might go for like a Jaden Daniels rushing yards or maybe a Malik Neighbors receptions line. But that right now is my absolute lock. That's the game that I'm looking at to try to bet on. Besides that, just a couple of other games that, not sure if I'm going to definitely bet on them, but just some lines I liked. Devon Achane, plus 100 touchdown score against Buffalo. I'm not huge into betting on the touchdown scores, but Achane being a plus 100 feels like a very generous line to me. That's definitely one I would be checking out. And then a couple over-unders. Bengals at the Chiefs. Line is set at 48 right now, and I'm taking the under on that. Bengals offense massively underperforming. Chiefs defense really, really good. It's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be more of a defensive battle between these two AFC powerhouses. So I'm taking the under on that 48. And then we got Bears and Texans. 45.5 is the line right now. We're switching it. We're taking the over on this one. Texans could single-handedly put up 35 points in this game. I like this Bears offense. I think they're going to continue to grow. Texans don't have a superb defense. I think that this game's going to end up being a shootout, especially in the second half. So I really like the over in this game. But yeah, those are my degenerate picks for this week. Like I said, keep an eye on that Washington Giants matchup. But Josh, thank you for my segment. I'm going to throw it back to you now.
All right. I am interested in the Bears-Texans just because the Bears did score 2 touchdowns defensively against the Titans. Didn't necessarily hold them. Just got pick sixes. They never So, even when they're stopping, they're scoring. But thank you. I'll be looking into those, and we'll see next week about how those went. And to continue a little bit more into our gambling, we have a little bit of a contest between me and Tyler. Now, this is the upset of the week. We have our percentage win chances for next week. And we thought it would be fun to each week choose a team that we think is going to upset that, is going to go the other way. We'll track it. We'll see who's winning by the end of the year. And Tyler, do you have any interest in putting some stakes on this?
I would have liked to know that we were putting stakes on this beforehand. I'm
Well,
not
I'm
gonna
asking if you
lie.
want to put stakes on it.
Sure. Uh, what stakes do you want to put on this?
I should have thought about that beforehand.
Whoever loses, or if you pick incorrectly at the start of our next podcast, you got to rip 3 shots right at the start of the podcast.
Lord.
I take it back.
Fuck it,
Even
yeah.
better. Even better. If your team loses, for every 10 points your team loses by, that's a shot. So it might only be 1. It might be 7.
Oh. All right. Can we offer shotgunning a beer as like an alternative?
I'll take it. I thought about recommending a shotgunning, but as some of you might know, I am not good at shotgunning at all.
I'm not good at shots. Tell you what,
You know what?
I'll match you. I'll match you 1-for-1 shotgun to shot.
That's insane, but whatever you say, man.
Maybe I'll regret it. Maybe it should be like 15, every 15 is a shotgun, every 10 is a shot.
I don't know.
But man, I don't do shots.
Give us some suggestions. All right, we need some help clearly figuring this out.
We'll agree to something like this.
But
whatever you guys decide, we'll do it for the views, you know. But I'll go into my pick first.
I liked your pick, and not to say that I would have liked to copy your pick, but I think it's a better pick than my pick. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna alternate who gets to pick first each week, and
Ooh,
so yeah,
I like that.
Yeah, I flipped a coin. I got the first pick this week, and for my first pick, I'm going to take the Notorious Scoundrels over the Bongside Kicks. It comes down to the manager. I'm trusting that Victor's going to set his lineup. And if he does, we'll be in business. And if not, well, please set your lineup, Victor. Please set your lineup. Please.
This week is brought to you by Victor, hopefully setting his lineup for next week.
Please. So, Tyler, who are you thinking this week?
So, to be fair, I didn't do this based on the percentages, but I also think these percentages will flop once teams both properly set their lineups. I'm taking our number 10 team in the power rankings. I'm taking Steve's Big Ballers to take out She Loves My McConkey. For the reason of She Loves My McConkey had a tough week. I think in the long run, this team is going to bounce back. I don't think the game against Kansas City is going to be the bounce back game for these Bengals players, though. Unfortunately, Cooper Kupp now without Puka Nacua is going to be getting absolutely double teamed. I would expect every single passing play of the entire game. Jordan Love also being out is definitely going to raise some question marks around this team. So did I maybe just make this pick because I thought it would be fun? Maybe. But regardless, I stand by it. Big Ballers. Let's go.
If I'm being honest, I love that pick. I think that is going to – that's a great pick. And, I'm hearing it from the crowds that Big Steve's Big Ballers is quickly becoming the people's champion, so I think it'll be a very popular pick.
Yes.
And yeah, I love that. And we'll see what it's going to cost you to have chosen that.
We'll see.
In
I
the
mean, to be
future.
fair, we can both lose these predictions.
We can both lose, which is a lovely, super fun thing. But that does it for our final segment of this show. Hopefully you enjoyed. And I don't think we're going to be, deciding guests on the shows yet until we have a better schedule. I don't think everyone's going to want to be, up with us until 1 a.m. chatting.
It is currently 1 a.m. We recorded this shift after recorded this podcast after my 11-hour shift in about 6 hours before Josh gets up for work. So,
Yep. That's, yeah.
and that's the beauty of fantasy football. It just, there's that much passion for it here.
Hey, we care. And that's why we're winning.
That's why we're the
So-
best two teams in the league. Obviously, definitively, I don't care what anybody says.
So, hey, if there's one thing to take from this, just remember, care and, pick up a player and set your fucking lineup.
Set your lineup.
Victor. Good night.
Oh, I forgot about this thing.
Yeah.
All right. Well, guys, thank you so much for tuning in into, I guess, the first episode of the Hail Mary Happy Hour, the second episode of our podcast.
Yes. Thanks for joining us. And no, set your fucking lineup. That's really all I have to say.
Drink beer and watch football, guys.